Welcome back to the Bit by Bit podcast. In today's episode, I spoke with Bruce Stewart at Bitcoin Walking on Twitter. Bruce walks 20 to 25 kilometers a day while listening to podcasts, many of them Bitcoin podcasts, and his Twitter is a fantastic source to find some of the best articles, news and podcasts in the space. If you're not already following Bruce, I suggest you do, and I'm going to link his Twitter in the show notes. I've only been doing the podcast a short amount of time. I've got to speak to some amazing people, and what's really struck me is, although a lot of us are separated by age, background and borders, there seems to be a common theme. Whenever I speak to other people who are excited about Bitcoin and its potential to change the world, these people seem to have a nose for bullshit and to care deeply about freedom. I really enjoyed chatting to Bruce, and I hope you enjoy listening. How are you, Bruce?
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to anyone. Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Loud and I'm like about 110%. Yeah.
All right, perfect. How are you today, Bruce?
Oh, wonderful. It's nice and warm, of course. And,
in Brisbane?
In Brisbane, yes. Okay.
It's cold and wet and rainy here in London. Yeah, we've got storms over here.
Yeah. What are we? February. So it's still winter time, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, still winter time, but it's all right. Okay. I'm just looking at a screen as well here. Right.
So Bruce, today I thought today, because you've done, for any of my listeners, Bruce has already done an interview with a mutual friend of ours, Daniel Prince, and he's the host of the Once Bitten podcast. So to get a full history and backstory on Bruce and all about his life, definitely check that one out, because I really enjoyed that one. It was a fantastic interview. Was that your first one you've done?
Yes, very much so.
It was really
I don't
interesting.
go out there advertising myself. Can someone come and interview me, please? Because I'm good.
Yeah. But no, it was
some time in your life.
Exactly.
I suppose.
Exactly. But for everyone who doesn't know and hasn't yet listened to that interview, Bruce, I found you on Twitter, and Bruce walks, is it 20, 25 kilometers every day?
Well, not every day, but we'll say just about every day, because sometimes, hang on a second, maybe that's better. Yeah.
That's better. I can hear you better now.
Yeah. Well, I used to put the microphone in front of your lips. Is that what it's supposed to go?
Well, that's what I've been told. But then I'm so loud that on most of my interviews, then I end up having to edit it because I'm too loud for it. So I try and push it a little bit back now. But
no, you can do that in the editing. We want to get, so the players, all the different players can work properly. Yes, so most days I walk 20 to 23, but if it's raining like heavy, of course I'm checking out. I don't go. Now and again I do. Umbrella works, but none of these stormy times. And one thing with Brisbane, Queensland and Australia, you have a lot of times there's not like London or something, it'll rain, but then the rain goes away and you have fine clear breaks and periods. Like last week I went out a couple of different days and going real well, and there was about 15 minutes to go and it really poured down. I had my umbrella, but it poured down that much that the umbrella blew inside out and broke, and I got wet. But of course it's 27 to 28 degrees sometimes, and doesn't matter. You're not going to freeze to death for that little amount of time. Yeah.
But it's sporadic. A friend of mine from Melbourne, when I went there, they said, if you don't like the weather in Melbourne, stick around 10 minutes.
Well, let's see, Melbourne compared to Brisbane, it's like two different worlds as well.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, like crazy place there. Yeah. Sorry, Melbourne.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed it when I was there, but I wasn't there too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but for visiting and a lot of people love it.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So when you're on your walks, Bruce, you listen to, and this is how I found you on Bitcoin Twitter, is when you go on these walks, you listen to all these different Bitcoin podcasts, and then you kindly share them. Yeah, lots. And what is it that, I mean, it must be, what is it, 3 podcasts a day or something you must be listening to? You're going through them at quite some rate.
How about 6 sometimes?
Oh, really?
Wow. So I'll give you the rundown. Shall I give you the daily schedule? So
yeah, go on. Let's have a listen. Day in the life of Bruce.
The daily schedule.
Yeah.
Where shall I start? I do some. So lots of times I will probably wake up a lot of times at 4 or 5 in the morning a.m. And I'll fire up the computer, not my phone, the desktop computer, and I'll get on Twitter and have a look, see what's going on there, and check the price of Bitcoin, which doesn't really matter, but you do it just of habit.
Yep.
So I can comment sometimes on it. Then I'll do some Twitter, scroll through, there's some research, search something, make some comments, because this is what I like to do. This thing is an experiment anyway for me, just to see what happens. And then I'll go back to bed for a couple of hours, and then rise about 7:20 sort of thing, and get dressed, have a wash and get dressed in that. And I try and leave here at 7:30 a.m. and go for a walk, which takes 60 minutes. I go for a walk for an hour. I have a track worked out that takes me in an hour. So I can get an hour and 10 minutes sometimes. So I can get back about 8:45. That gets me back here, and so I can prepare and serve Joshua. I have a 48-year-old son who I look after, who I care for, who has a medical condition. So I get him his breakfast, and I'm a full-time carer for him. He doesn't need a lot of caring. It's not as though it's a hands-on job every 10 minutes sort of thing. And we'll leave that there sort of thing. And I give him his breakfast, and of course, naturally, I do mine as well in the same time frame. That takes us into like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I do some computer work, like searching, listing some stuff. And I and a lot of the times I go into Twitter and then put my tweets up through my desktop, not always through my phone. I do it a lot of the stuff by desktop. If you see an image come up on Twitter of me and I'm on the road type thing, that comes through my smartphone, my iPhone.
Yes.
I do it while I'm on the road. But lots of times I will do it through the desktop. And then I try, and then time goes around a bit. It depends what we're doing and that. And I aim for 11:30 a.m. in the day, 11:20, 11:30. Sometimes it gets to 12 o'clock, because Josh and I will have a chat about what's going on during the day, because he has stocks. He invests in stocks on the share market, on the Australian share market, ASX.
Okay.
He does shares. And then 11:30, I try and get out of here and make sure his drinks are up. He's got something to drink. His drinks are up always, and that sort of thing. And then I'll get out on the road, and this is my big walk. And this one can be something like 10, 11, 12 kilometers.
Wow.
And like 2.5 hours type thing.
You must be fit as a fiddle, Bruce.
Oh, could be. I don't know.
I don't think I walk that in a week.
Yeah, but you're not old enough yet. Sorry. I probably didn't at your age either.
Keeps you young.
I was able to hop in a truck or a car or whatever and go somewhere. Of course, everything was busy, and not everything was so important. I think everything was in a hurry, and because the end of the world was coming, and you had to be busy.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Then I'll listen to podcasts on the big walk, And some of the time I might listen to 3, 4, 5 or 6 podcasts, but I'll only post up about 3.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, I'll post up while I'm on the road. A lot of times in I call them my midday podcasts, I'll post up. Now, it'd be wonderful if I was able to remember them all and remember a lot of things from them so I could take notes and that sort of thing. I've been approached by a person, are you able to take notes? And it was too hard for me, got too awkward or anyway.
Well, out when you're walking, I can't think that taking notes is easy, is it?
Well, I was an idea, you know, like, you know, you got to, I have an open mind with things, and we never know until you try, and things could work out and all that. Just for an example, so I've got on my phone, I've got a audio, like just record your voice while you're walking or anything like that. So I do that sometimes. A midday might come along and say, I'm on my midday walk and it's Wednesday, the 20th of February, which it's not yet. And I'm listening to this guy called Mac Bybit, that guy's podcast.
Oh, don't listen to that one, Bruce. That's a terrible one.
That's wonderful. Actually, that's one of my regular ones anyway.
Oh, really? That's nice to hear.
And then there might be something I want to, like, is links mentioned or something's mentioned, and I I'm getting to a point here, and I want to research it when I get back home later, and I can replay the recording. So I tried this about 2 weeks ago, it might be 3 weeks ago. And, you know, I've never been able to clear that deck. I've cleared about 4 or 5 of them, and I've got them all backed up and stacked up against each other. And I've never, so I've got to, so it gets to a stage where I know I'm retired. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't know where the time goes.
No.
I couldn't have a job because I haven't got time to even go to work.
Yeah, it's that Bitcoin rabbit hole. It will get you.
Yeah, so I do that. Yeah, I listen to. It's work in progress. So I want to sort of prioritize my time and see if I can, like. It's interesting. We all have the same. Like, Elon Musk has the same amount of time as I have. Like, so what does he do different than I do, other than got a few more brain cells? But we all have the same.
I don't think he sleeps, does he?
We all have the same amount of time.
I know. He's an incredible man, that guy. Just how he does it.
Yeah, a lot of people mightn't like him and all that, but I think if you're looking for aliens on this earth, I mean, he's one. You know, this is. These are these people. People don't realise. Yeah, they're just in human form. It's their mind is different than our minds. Yeah.
Oh, completely. Yeah. He's just incredible.
And this is what we have. I mean, and Jeff Bezos as well. And you know, I listen to some of his stuff that he talks about, and and he just tries things lots of times. I have some commentary about what he's said and all that, and I might have even put on Twitter on a post. But anyway, so that's lunch. Then I'll get back at lunchtime, so I've caught up 2:50 because I do shopping. It's quite interesting. I go to the shop just about daily, on a daily basis. I don't drive to the shop. I walk all the time to the shop. And it's quite interesting. I go to the shop to pick up some groceries or food items and things like that. And so my trek to the shop can be 6Ks or 12Ks, you see. Or else if I do a shortcut, it would take me 15 minutes. I go around a long way. See, that's what you got to do.
Yeah. That's a long way with your bags.
I mean, as we have a saying in our household that we don't need a lot of cupboards. Our cupboards are up the shop. That's where we keep our stuff, our goods and products, and we store it in the cupboard that's already up there, and get it at a daily time, you know, and you just pay for it then. Yeah, and they pay for the storage. Yeah,
yeah, that's smart.
And then I'll do Joshua's lunch salad sandwich and that, and do mine as well, and then that after lunch, I try and stay awake and persevere, and then we do a bit of stuff, and then the next walk will be something like 5:15 or 5:30, my evening walk, which I didn't, for example, I didn't do today because I had to go and pick up my cat from the vet, my cat, Pussycat, because
he's all right.
Yeah, he had a, yeah, he had an injury. He had a fight. He's missing a front leg anyway as it is, but he's not backward and coming forward. He's got an attitude because he lost his leg and was thrown out of a car, and we got him from a rescue place. So that's where he's got his attitude. Probably got pissed off.
Little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and he must have been in a fight. We have 2 other cats, but it wasn't dead. Our other 2 cats was in a unit complex, big unit complex we live. Must have been we found someone else. But anyway, he had one of those grazers on him, and that sort of had they get a bit of pus in. And anyway, long story short, it got cleaned up today and all that. And
good.
And can you pay us $500? Thank you very much. And we're all happy.
Yeah.
we're all happy.
Yeah.
So I have a whinge about that for a second, but I mean, it's only money. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, when it's your animals, they're your family, aren't they?
Yeah, that's part of my family now. And so that sort of interfered. I had to pick him up at 5:45, so that sort of put the kibosh on a little bit on the walk. There was a good enough excuse. As an example, that's how I didn't do this evening's walk. Yeah. And then we have dinner at then that's the finish of the day, and we have dinner at 7:30. So that's a schedule to fit in around Joshua's, the way he operates his day, to fit around him.
So it sounds like at times you and Joshua are both looking at the prices of different things, and you're both trading. And well, you don't trade; you're a sat stacker, aren't you?
Yeah, I only think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as far as it gets with me. Well, I might have had a dabble a couple of times, but I got not enough. Yeah. And the problem is that we have a crystal ball, but it's broken. And of course,
really?
You can't send it to China at the moment because they won't not taking anything in. So that's put a bit of kibosh on that as well. Yeah. And I tried to use it, but it's broken. So, Yeah,
that's a shame. Well, let me know if it ever sorts itself out.
That's
let
right.
Me know.
Yeah. Yeah. And in our household, to fill in the big picture that's been put on Twitter now and again, I have another son who's 33, and he's I won't go into too much history of him, but he's been trading Forex for about 5 years now.
Okay.
He's had on and off. He's crashed a couple of times and sent him around the bend, and he's had to come back up again and breathe and type thing. And it's made him stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a lot of money or anything, but he trades. He trades an account for Joshua, and keeps him
just Forex.
Yeah.
He should speak to Daniel.
He's in self-development. Yes, Philip's
Daniel
in self-development as well. Yeah. Like he's full on that at the moment. He doesn't do much trading at the moment, but he's full on learning, improving, educating himself in personal development. And as we figured out, we have to get ourselves right first before we can do anything else.
That's very true.
We have everything back to front when we start things. Like as you heard, like I've had like 17 businesses and been bankrupt 3 times. And we used to start a business, and that's because that's what you did. It's like,
yeah.
And you forgot about trying to be a nice person. Like as a little history, I'm proud of myself at this present stage. I mean, I'm old now, older.
How old are you now, Bruce?
72 now. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a lot to happen yet. And I can guarantee and say without I'm not ashamed. Like, I've been through a stage of life where I was a a-hole, I was an asshole type. Like, I was a terrible person once. Not proud of it, but it's just how you were. Like, must have saw the light along the way.
I think we all are sometimes, aren't we? We all are sometimes.
Oh, as a male. Oh, anyway, we won't go into that too much. Unless the platform I'm speaking on a love platform or something like that, I can go into more of that history. Yeah, and I'm not even proud of certain things I did. Yeah, which is a lot of things you can't do nowadays, but because of we've got these things called smartphones. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, yes, and getting back to swinging right around, I've read in Daniel's book and his history of, he was quite into that in a big way. But getting back to trading, like, and Forex and that mindset, as without, like, as most of us know, it's a lot of it's mindset and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And getting back to me, like some people, this is what I find with a lot of older gentlemen, older people, male or female, not so much female. Generally, the male population has this issue that they work at a place for so long, like 40 years, 30 years, or 50 years type thing. And then all of a sudden they find themselves, there's a certain date comes along, and I mean, not my retired from different circumstances, and they're told they can't come anymore because on the calendar it says you've been here, your age is X amount, like 65, depends where country you live in, and you're blessed to get the pension. Some countries, not all countries are like this, but in like England, and Europe, England and Australia and Canada, I suppose. Anyway, you get told that, we don't need you anymore. And that can be devastating for some people. Like, they can't handle that.
Well, it's your life.
They wake up in the morning and they've got no purpose, nowhere to go. And they go downstairs or out of the room and look at their wife that they've had for 30 years and say, "Oh, what happened to you? How come you're looking like this?" Getting that age, it comes along. Last time I looked at you, you were beautiful. I'm having a go now, but
and then they get a slap.
Yeah, that's right. And then she says, "Well, Charlie or George, what are you doing today?" He says, "Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a list for you." Oh, okay, a list.
Yeah.
I don't know about this list thing. That's right. I remember I had this thing I was doing in the shed. I'll be back soon. And he's gone for half a day to the shed. Anyway, but on a serious note, that's sort of roughly what can happen. They mentally can't, emotionally can't, they can't handle this. And of course, if you're not emotionally stable, and suffer, depression can slowly creep in without you knowing. And all those chemicals in your body can play havoc with your body and cause all sorts of issues. And to me, that's a big deal at the moment for lots of people. Yeah. So different to me, like we have history that we can look at and go back, but we do have to have a purpose when we get up in the morning. We have to, have a passion. And I have it, like I've wrote different notes. And we are working, like I call this working what I'm doing, even as though it's a passion, but we're working in the future. Like, we're not working in the past. What I'm doing is for the future going forward, and anything could happen. Nothing might happen of it, but that's so be it. But certain things come, and this has come about that Twitter, I've met a lot of people on Twitter, and like I could count as I say to a lot of different people, I can count my real friends on my left hand, right hand, I call it, on my right hand, on all my fingers. And I've had 2 fingers cut off on my right hand already. And I still can count my friends even though with 2 fingers missing, still can count my friends. So I got more friends on Twitter.
Yeah, me too, actually. Me too.
And it's wonderful. Yeah.
It's such a great place to meet people.
Yeah.
And especially I think it's especially with Bitcoin Twitter, because it's such a small group, and because I think most of us think a bit differently to the average person, and we're the outcasts a little bit. So
it's a word. There's a word for that. It's called crazy.
Yeah. Actually, that's the perfect word.
Different. Yeah.
That's the perfect word. I was going to say, you shared something a few hours ago that I thought you were just talking about living in the future, and that what you're doing is for the future. And you shared a post from Alex Gladstein. You'd said,
"Oh yes,
you know the one I'm talking about." So Alex Gladstein said, "There has never been a government that didn't sooner or later try to reduce the freedom of its subjects and gain more control over them. And there probably will never be one. Therefore, instead of trying to convince our current government not to try, we'll develop the technology that will make it impossible for the government to succeed." And and I think, and like you said, yes, it is. Yes, it's doing its best to stop or slow down this Bitcoin movement. Sorry,
they are
the lost cause government. I think you're right, and I think is that sort of part of the reason. They
see the writing on the wall.
Yes,
they know. They see the writing on the wall, and this is what they're doing. They have to look after themselves. They're saving their jobs. And this is on purpose. But as time passes, and after I've gone to another dimension, which I am doing eventually, and the people come through, like there's always, every 10 years, every decade, there's a new influx of minds and people in minds and things like that. And the old move on and the new come through, and the thinking is different. This has been built at the moment. The foundation of this, the foundation of thinking is being built. It's going to take a while at the moment, and it's going to rise, as they say, rising tide lifts all boats, and it'll be rising. I mean, 50 years, it's going to be totally different. I won't even be able to recognize what's going on. That's how I see it. I can be wrong. Yeah.
So if you close your eyes and you imagine the world in 50 years, what do you see? Like, what do you imagine that's going to be here with this technology and with the way things are going? Because you're so deeply involved.
A lot of AI, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I can see could be sooner, like as I see it now. Man and machine will be joined together within 50 years time. Man and machine will be joined together.
Interesting. Like a symbiosis.
And something like that. It's not a disease either.
Well, no.
From the neck up, there's big changes happening, if you can understand that saying.
Mm-hmm.
From the neck up, there's big changes happening in there. And machines will adapt around our legs, body, arms, and things like that. And we'll be able to lift a lot more heavier weights, do a lot more things and all that. And a lot of the progress will go in the mind, brain and mind from the neck up. Yeah. And there'll be if there's mining, like say there's coal mining now, God forbid, do we need it anymore? But anyway, mining and things like that, that's all be done by robots. You won't have to send people in the mines or anything like that. It's all robotic. There'll be robots to do that.
Yeah.
If they want to have wars, I don't know if they'll have wars. Maybe, I think wars could be, I don't know. Big major wars are probably finished. There's no more.
Well, maybe they won't be able to finance them if we have Bitcoin. That's the plan.
No. The mines will, because the mines are newer and clearer and more, I'm not very academic with any words, but they'll be able to, common sense will be a lot stronger. There'll be less, I could be wrong, there'll be less, let's say, there'll be less totalitarian governments around, organizations around, less egos. Your egos are battling because we're still primitive at the moment. Humans are, human beings are primitive, come a long way, but still primitive. So, you know, that's, and for minor it can get scary. This can get scary. Minor conflicts, it'll be all done by machines.
Yeah.
Machines. But the AI and the minds that control these machines, but somewhere along the line, common sense prevails. Like, we couldn't program an AI to blow the whole world up, God forbid, sort of thing. I mean, but common sense, like, we know this, we can do so much damage now that it'll destabilize the earth and the world, that it could send us back millions of years, you know, backwards.
Yeah.
Say someone some stupid person was in the government within the next 40, 50 years and decided to let a few of those old missiles, old gear off, like, they're old now. And what are we going to do with them? We can't we can recycle them, sort of thing, but let's have some fireworks and see what happens. What would these things do, you know? But if they did fire a few, like, it destabilize the whole world, economy and everything. Yeah, I mean, the thing for power, the fight for power, is through currency now. That's where's the fight from power is coming from. It'll be through currency. And it's like that post I put on one on Twitter today about, wonder if I can, it was a bit, I don't know whether you noticed it. It was about God created heaven and the earth in 6 days, then rests on the seventh. But while he was resting, he created the Bitcoin white paper and delivered it through Satoshi Nakamoto, and in brackets, not Craig Wright, when the world needed it. See, when, that's the bit, when the world needed it.
I think you're absolutely right with that.
I mean, that's just,
I know it's tongue in cheek, but in terms of timing, it couldn't have come at a better time. Yeah.
And so what are we up to? That's the future. Yeah. Nothing that you want to add to that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, just that I think your comments around things being more machines,
and that's only 50 years.
I know, yeah. And it's accelerating all of this stuff. But do you see
100 more and 200 years? Sorry.
Do you see the world getting more and more free? Because I feel like we're on a tipping point where we either go, like you say, full totalitarian, full Big Brother 1984, and it goes to a point where we go too far and we never come back, or we go the other way.
Yeah, I see we go. The future's rosy. That's how I look at it. I have a lot of faith in young people. A lot of faith in young people. I mean, same old, there's a percentage that, you know, that are a bit wonky, but...
bit wonky. That's a nice way to put it.
But they're still growing. It's interesting, human beings, as we go through our growth, we all come to realizations at different stages of our life. I used to have a saying and say to my children and one of my daughters, males, I'll pick on the male race, males generally don't grow up until they're 35. With females, that's where we start. With females can start at 18, 19 and 20 because their body generally has to kick in and say, we want to have it, we've got to produce some children, you know, whether they want to or not. But that's the general thing. It's their hormones that doing it, you know, and they'll go out and find a mate any old time, place sometimes. And that's their object. And that's how the world keeps coming. Yeah. That's my thinking anyway. I'm no scholar, academic or professor or anything like that.
I don't know. I think you listen to, you have so much information you're taking in every day, Bruce. it definitely gets in there for sure.
Well, I've had those things, that thinking, for forever, long time. Yeah.
So outside of your Bitcoin stuff, what other podcasts do you listen to? Do you have sort of specific subjects, or you just have What other stuff do you?
Yes. Yeah. I listen to Star Talk. Their podcast. That Neil deGrasse, or however you say that guy's name.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Thank you very much.
That's the
I
guy.
knew someone could help me. I'm not big on. I'm not big on words. Let's have a look here, and of course, these are crypto ones. Where's my library?
He's great, that Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah,
really, really interesting.
I listen to everyone from the Hash R8 boys, their podcast about Bitcoin, about mining, not only other mining.
Yeah.
Gives a lot of information in there. BBC podcast, the documentary, it's a BBC podcast.
Okay.
That's something different. An Australian podcast by two ladies. Chat Looks 3. I'll get off my file here. But lots of
that's all right. Quite a variety of different podcasts. I find it difficult to get out of. I've almost only listened to Bitcoin podcasts now. I used to listen to loads of different stuff, but it ended up that the time goes.
You don't have the same time as. I don't expect any other people to have the same time as I have. Yeah. So there's other. So I'm the only one that's got all this time and listen. I'll probably listen to more than anyone that's walking or sitting or driving.
Well, I'm glad you do, because I'll quite often look on Twitter and you'll suggest something and I'll go, check that out. It's the stamp of approval from Bruce, and I go, right, okay, I'll have a listen.
Thank you. And there's a bit of a following along that line now as well, because they seem to, we'll go down that track. Yeah, and I listen to Macro Voices. Now that's investment podcast. And that's the only investment one I listen to, because I have other investment news that comes from Joshua. So this gives me an overview of what's happening, just to just for that side of it. I'll listen to some of Real Talk by Zuby. Listen to a lot of his.
He's from the UK, isn't he, Zuby?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's brilliant. Brilliant guy.
Yeah. I think he's Southampton or something like that.
Yeah.
He's not too far.
And of course, Peter McCormick.
Yeah, he's great.
He's done wonderful. Yeah. Some people sort of he gets a bit of kickback from some people, but he's doing what he's doing. He's on fire. He's doing a wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Yeah, I think so.
You need people like him. Ted, I do listen to a bit of TED Radio Hour. That's from the TED stage, and it's in radio format. And they're just short clips, like 20-minute podcast clips. And some of and I listen to some Tony Robbins stuff. Just some people mightn't like that, but I do that as well, just to keep me level, sort of thing.
Do you find him good, Tony Robbins?
Yeah, I do, because I understand where he's coming from and what he's about. The people that don't like that sort of thing, a lot of people give it kickback for personal doubt, is because subconsciously they feel inferior, like they feel, and that's why they put a blockage up. They don't want to know the truth. You see, us humans, we do this.
He seems to be good. A friend of mine swears by him and just says he's awesome, and keeps pushing me to listen and watch some of his videos and things. I haven't found the time. No,
it depends what you do, and we can talk about that some other time if you want to. What you do in your business and that sort of thing. I can sort of listen to you ramble on a bit and maybe throw some pointers out now and again.
You'd be there all day, Bruce.
Correct, but yeah, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. But you have to have an open mind with stuff and just listen. And sometimes you listen and your mind is not open, and you jump to conclusion. We're human beings, we're all good at jumping at shadows. We jump at shadows all the time, and get the get the wrong end of the stick type thing, and make assumptions, grizzle and grain. We're not in this household. We're not. What do you call it? Happiness. There's happiness in this household. Negativity is not allowed in our household or anything like that.
I think that's so important.
Yeah. You know, like there's a quote from Jeff Bezos. He has a quote: "I've made billions of dollars of failures. Our failures are our stepping stones to success. So be bold and go out there putting those stepping stones in place." You know, this sort of thing. And,
that's why
you can fail. You know, that sort of thing.
All the people who have succeeded, it's failure after failure after failure, and then it goes right finally.
Yeah, well, I've had it. And that's why I've been bankrupt 3 times. I've had 17 businesses and been bankrupt 3 times. Wow. Nothing to be proud of, but that's the history. That's the past, and that's embedded in there, and that's it. You know.
Well, it's about trying. That's the thing, about just giving it a go, like you say.
As I talk to Philip, my Forex son, and say, I have no hesitation. I could go into, I've got no want to do this, but I could go into, up until this day, even I have that belief system in me. I can go into any business and I could run it, you know, just straight off the bat, just walking in. There's certain things you analyze, you know, observe the business for about 5 days and see what's going on, and then do a report and come up with something that could be running real good, but there might be a couple of things that sometimes these couple of things can be worth to the bottom line or to the overall turnover worth quite a bit. Just 2 or 3 things, because when we're in business we can't see, you know, what's in the woods for the trees, that saying sort of thing. See the wood for the trees, you know. Need
a fresh pair of eyes sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's when you're in business and you've the podcast, I mean, Bitcoin people can find this. It can be, that's why Twitter is so good. It can be lonely. Being in business is lonely. Being a sole entrepreneur, a sole business owner is very lonely, you know. I had a guy that in my last business that went for about 9 years and went bankrupt in the end. You know, it rose. It was quite big in the end. We employed about 46 people and that sort of thing, and had 2 retail shops. But I had a guy that used to, because I used to work in it all the time, which was pretty stupid as well, but that's another story. I used to have a guy come and see me lots of different times because he had this saying. He said, "Oh, I'll go around and see Bruce because I'm a bit depressed and all that. Because once I have a talk with Bruce, I know his life is a lot worse than mine, and I'll feel a lot better when I come away from it." He used to do that about once a month. We chewed the fat and all that, and then he figured out, my business not going so bad after all.
Sometimes you need to step back and then realize what you have.
Perspective.
So Bruce, listen.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say I had another question for you.
Yes.
With all of what you're listening to with your Bitcoin stuff, if you're looking at it, and you know, I think you're obviously as excited as I am, and you believe in this. Is there one thing that worries you? Is there one thing that, with all your experience in other businesses and in life, you look at what's being built and you have a concern?
Yeah, I only have one worry. Is when I pass on and leave, I won't be able to see it for the rest of time.
You never know.
That's how much faith I have in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Listening to these, yes, but it's not going to be the only thing as well. A lot of people don't like that, but I'm not one of these Bitcoin maximalists that it's only Bitcoin and there's nothing else. Yes, there is only Bitcoin because it's new, still new. It's only 11 years old, and it's still a big, giant experiment. Now, out of these big, giant experiments and other experiments and going on, and I wouldn't have a clue whatever's going to come along as well, there's going to be other things that rise up, other blockchains. There's not only one blockchain. There's other blockchains. Now, a lot of people, but Bitcoin has got the jump on everything, and it's got a lot of very good developers working on it, and it can stay there in front. It can stay there as a leader. As you know, in the top companies in the world, top businesses, the top thing, we have Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, just off the top of our head, and Amazon. Mm-hmm. We've got all them.
Yeah.
When did they first start? Can you answer that?
Oh, I mean, that's like 15,
really?
20 years ago or something.
Is that a very long time?
No, not really. No.
Walmart's been around 100 years.
No, I think you're right with that. I mean, I definitely think in terms of
the best thing Facebook did was present the Libra coin onto society and the US government. That was the best thing. That's one good thing that happened. Everyone sat up and no, that's not going to work. But they presented something to make people sit up and take notice. Okay. So the brain starts turning, the cogs start turning. So now we have China wanting to have its own digital coin. A lot of other countries want to have their own digital coin. Now we could have digital coins all over the place, like paper money, the different ones. US dollar is king by a long shot, and they use that as the peg at the moment. But there will be a digital one that will come along. And if the US government pulls its finger out, it could be the US dollar as the peg. But these things can live side by side with Bitcoin until Bitcoin grows further and further and further, and people, like, as things change as it goes along. But this is to me, what's going to happen first is there's other digital currencies coming along. Now, a good podcast to listen to is, where have I got this? I have this in my Telegram. I have a Telegram, private one. Is from the Bitcoin Magazine. Their podcast,
Bitcoin Magazine. Yeah.
And Bitcoin Tina. Bitcoin
she's
part
great.
1. It's a he, sorry.
Oh, Bitcoin Tina?
Yeah.
Really? I've got them on Twitter. I've read through loads of bits and pieces. I always assumed.
Thank you. Yes. What was that word you said?
Assumed.
And of course, I don't have to tell you, that's an old joke, what that means anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and arse of you and me.
Bitcoin 1 and part 1 and part 2.
Okay. All right. I'll check that one out.
It's worth a couple of listens to. Very smart person. Very smart person.
I'll check that out.
Yeah. What else have I got in here? See, what I thought of doing is these prominent podcasts, putting them in here, in my Telegram channel.
Oh, okay.
Another guy I listen to a lot actually is this person. Some people don't like him as well, and it's not related to crypto. Is Gary V.
Gary V.
Gary V. Have you heard of Gary V?
I haven't actually, no. What sort of...
Where have you been?
Under a rock?
About 20 of them.
No, I haven't heard of Gary V.
It's
what sort of
GAR, how to run your business, and don't be so negative, and don't be so lazy, and get your shit together, and you can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Gary V. Gary V is Gary, and V is VEE.
Oh, VEE. Okay, I'll check that out. So it's like a motivational and organization sort of thing, is it?
Yeah, he wouldn't call it that, but yeah, he's one. I listen to some of his stuff, and some of these stuffs I listen to on video format as well. That sort of thing. Yeah. We're getting back to any other question.
I think, to be honest, Bruce, I think we covered most of it there, and I just want to say it's been really, really nice speaking to you. It's been really helpful for me over time having you post up things, and so I can have a look through, and you always put up some fantastic podcasts and information. So I'm going to link your Twitter in the show notes and link all your information there. So anyone who's listening who doesn't already follow Bruce, you should be, because it's such a great source of information. And I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. And I think it's incredible that you're so involved in this community, and thank you for coming on. It's been has been a pleasure to speak with you.
Okay then. Right.
Anything you'd like to close out with? Any words of wisdom?
I just close with that little one-liner of mine that remember, life is short and the world is big, large.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
Go get it. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Lovely to speak to you, and have a nice evening, Bruce.
And thank you for the invite, and we'll catch you another time. And
absolutely.
Reach out if you ever want to. Yeah. Right.
I will do. All right. Cheers, Bruce. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.